One thing that we say a lot that's worth considering more that we should think about as Americans. One of the things we mentioned before is like, in what way are we a lot like North Korea? Well, here's the thing, and it says that we can't be like North Korea. Well, so if we're not, then here's the thing. What goes on in what the picture of the big sort of broad picture of what we know about such a place? It's the level of control over what people are, like what the population perceives is happening in the outside world and where they live. They're insulated in a way that has often been referred to as though it's a hermit kingdom. They're told all kinds of things by their state TV, including the fact that they're sort of a very. I mean, they're told all kinds of things, but it's a good. It's one of these examples of a place where like there's a lot of incredible repression. It's a totalitarian society, poverty, violence. There's also an incredible wealthy class over there. But what they're told about the world and themselves and where they're living and what the world's like and everything is unreal. Okay? Now, here's the thing. We've often mentioned it here, too. Although it's supposed to be a free society, the way people think and behave and see is as though it's a totalitarian society. One of the largest indicators is we're the only free. When we say like this, certain things are anti-American, you hear that a lot. That certain things are anti-American. We are the only free society that has such a concept. There are no free societies except ours that has such a concept. It's something that you only find in extreme totalitarian societies. So, for example, and this is Chomsky's point, he said, look, try going to Norway and writing, or if an academic, I'm writing a book called Anti-Norwayism. I mean, people will just bust out laughing. Or going to Italy and writing a book about like anti-Italianism, like they would just laugh their asses off. It doesn't really make any sense. But no, it's something that you hear in a totalitarian society. We have such a concept, anti-American. We're very insulated from reality to a degree that's really very shocking as you realize it. But one of the things about the country as it relates to immigration is that people are actually in the outside world and things are told that they're not told the truth about what kind of place, or just in general, what does the leader say when he is spoken to? The leader, what does he say to the outside world? It is not known that there's two different, in the same sense, talk about two Americas. There's like you just said on the news. There's sort of two. There's incredible wealth like compacted into the sort of leadership, and then everyone is really extraordinarily deprived and under repression. It's just at the top, like the sort of leaders of it or the political class are sickly wealthy, but they do things to indicate that that's what it's like. And they mentioned here, like they built a ski resort in like North Korea, like they do bizarre. So the political class $1,000,000 a ski resort. The country's like desperate poor people, but would indicate this is a place where people are skiing. That's one of the ways when we talk about immigration. Current immigration, people who took desperate risks to get here but are undocumented. Told you about the immigration in my family's history. One of the main themes is always, like I said, my relatives, both from the ones from Poland and Russia, were told, and really because of America's, it was creating an image of itself, that it was a place where the streets were sort of paved with gold, where there was amazing opportunity for people, where everyone was treated equally, and people were very wealthy, and anyone could become a part of it. And they actually did this sort of public image and promotion with the sense of what's going on, and arrived in a place that may actually not have been better than where they were. I think my grandfather probably wished he stayed in the mountains of Poland. I mean, that to be in a Jewish ghetto and treated that way. And by the way, I want to say something about what happens to the immigrants. It's not really understood. I mentioned the INS a lot. I want to tell you something like one thing about my father's family, for example. That when his father had been an immigrant, he'd been brought to a poor immigrant, and then he was on welfare. That whole story of immigration. One of the things is that when mother used to say, "Yeah, you're falling in this family, like that way they are, they're like trauma victims. Like that way that they are, like the way they seem, like it's just they're as though they're trauma victims. They were deeply traumatized by things like this, which are what happened to immigrants. That happens right now with the INS. My father's childhood memories involve the police coming to the door and making everyone lie on the floor to see if there were any guns, because they were looking in tenements for stuff like that. And while they were lying on the floor, like the cops, like pulling out, his mother's underwear from the drawer and laughing and cracking up and having guns out, saying, "Stay on the floor." That's how a lot of immigrants were treated in poor neighborhoods. They're assumed to be committing crimes. They're searched by the police. They're harassed. That's what happens to immigrants. Who knows how badly the undocumented are being treated. I mean, that's something we can no longer be insensitive to. But when people come here desperate, it is always with the idea that this is a place of prosperity and opportunity. And of course, it's a place where for most people it's like the Depression or worse. It's just persons like your narrator here who are doing fine, and I represent a very small part of the place. No, it's desperate conditions here. The advertising would suggest otherwise.